The pandemic is changing everyday life in many ways, and the same goes for education. The Missouri State Teachers Association surveyed teachers to find out who was in favor of suspending standardized testing during the pandemic, and the results were overwhelmingly in favor of suspending testing, with 94% of teachers in favor of it. MSTA Executive Director Bruce Moe joins us now to give us an update on the survey results. Thank you so much for being here with us.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
So just starting out, what made MSTA decide to survey educators about standardized testing?
Well, we knew anecdotally that this was an important issue for teachers, and so we decided that it was important for us to have data in order to communicate with detail what educators were feeling about standardized testing. Nobody was asking them, and so we decided we needed to ask them so that we could give voice to what they thought.
Absolutely. So what did the survey reveal?
Well, the survey in some ways wasn't surprising, although the numbers were a bit surprising. The 94% number that you alluded to, I think, is significant. In other words, 94% of the 6,000 people who responded to our survey, all educators, felt strongly that standardized testing should be suspended this year. And the reason that they provided primarily was to provide more instructional time for their students.
So the results that you received from the survey, is that kind of what you were expecting?
Well, we were expecting those results, yes, but not with the overwhelming numbers that we saw. 94% is a pretty large majority, and I think that's compelling. I think that goes to really explaining how much teachers are passionate about this issue, how important they think it is.
Absolutely. So if standardized tests are suspended, how would the state decide if students are learning material adequately?
Well, that's an excellent question. And the reality is that teachers in the classroom and local school districts are already testing themselves. They're doing what we would call formative assessments, but the testing that occurs in the classroom on a weekly, monthly, regular basis to assess student progress. And districts have their own testing that they do along those lines. So it's not as if the teachers and districts don't know which students need assistance, who's falling behind, who's keeping up. They know that information. It's just that the statewide testing provides a higher level look, but it doesn't really impact in the short term student instruction and intervention.
So do you think that it'd be helpful for students that are maybe having trouble with material to not have the added pressure of having to take a standardized test?
What teachers are aware of and believe strongly is that the time spent on those standardized tests at the state level could be better spent providing instruction and intervention for those students in the classroom. They know that if they need to make up some lost time from the interruptions that COVID has provided, eliminating tests gives them that much more time.
Yes, definitely. So do you think that getting rid of testing during the pandemic could set a precedent for getting rid of standardized testing entirely?
Well, I don't think that's necessarily true. I think that the educators that we surveyed were very specific in their responses that it is due to COVID and the pandemic that they feel the need to suspend testing in this environment. I think they see the value of the data that is collected, but in this current environment, they just don't think that is the right priority.
Okay, so we've been talking about testing. What are some other concerns that MSTA is hearing from teachers right now?
Well, I think the other thing that we're hearing from teachers is that this has been an incredibly stressful time for educators. One of the things we saw in the survey is that a high percentage of teachers have considered leaving the profession. 57% reported giving that serious consideration, and 80% of the respondents reported an increased level of stress. Now, in some ways, that's not surprising, but it is a significant increase in that stress. And if we have that many teachers who are seriously considering leaving the profession, that poses a serious problem for us in the next few years.
So what are you doing to kind of help teachers feel supported right now?
Well, I think actually asking teachers what they think and how they feel is part of supporting them. I think teachers often feel isolated in the classroom, so having the opportunity to give voice to what they need and want in their environment is, I think, is something productive we can do. Of course, we're also going to be working in the legislature for increased funding for schools in this COVID environment. We think increased broadband is a significant issue, and probably I think the most important thing that we can do for teachers in this environment doesn't cost any money, and that's acknowledging the hard work they're doing and saying thank you. I don't think they hear that often enough in the current environment, and I think that could go a long way towards helping teachers feel supported and being able to make it through the rest of the year.
Absolutely. Bruce, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
We'll have more Ozarks Tonight coming up after the break.